Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Now you can, with the world's softest pajamas by Pajamagram. Created by a team of pajama experts, the world's softest PJs are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love how heavenly they feel. Includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
This is the Locker Room Podcast.
Alongside Willie Colon, Max Starks, I am Kirk Morrison. I've definitely have to discuss what took place in Las Vegas last night. Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor, but we still got some NFL talk we got to get to. We still got trades to talk in the NBA. I know NBA is still on the forefront, but at the same time, it still was a boxing weekend in Las Vegas. But before we start, I do got to introduce my guys again. We have Super Bowl champion Willie Colon of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Max Starks, a two-time Super Bowl champion with the Steelers. Yeah. I'm Kirk Morrison, 8-year NFL veteran, ESPN college football NFL analyst. And fellas, I don't even know where to start really start to dissect this fight because first of all, Max, before I even get to you, I do have to call out someone. I'm going to call out one of our co-hosts today. Okay, Max? I'm going to call out my co-host, Willow Colon. Or
Willow?
Will. I know.
It's just call me Willow?
No, not Will. Willow. It's at Will Colon 66 if you're on Twitter. He's at Max Stark 78. I'm at Kirk Morrison. But I have to call out one Will Colon 66 on Twitter. Because about a month and a half ago, Max, I said, man, I am going to watch this fight. Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor, the MMA's best versus boxing best. I want to see it because I don't get a chance to see truly good fights and guys who are at the top of their games or respective sports. And so when I asked Willie Colon, would you be buying this fight? Willie Colon told me, I'm not buying that. Don't get suckered into buying that fight. Why would you want to watch that fight? This was the same Will Colon that said, I don't want to watch an exhibition. I don't want to do that. And couldn't have find out. Willie Colon, I will give you the floor, my man. Because did you watch the fight? Did you buy the fight? Let me know what changed your mind about this fight, Willie Colon.
It was my wife's 40th birthday.
Blame it on the wife. Blame it on the wife. I knew it.
Pull out the white flag quick.
You pulled out the wife's card. You're supposed to save that card, Willie. You're supposed to save that card.
He didn't even get a sentence in.
Right.
It was my wife's 40th birthday.
It was my wife's 40th birthday. We had a lot of people that were interested in the fight. And listen, I throw great shindigs. So part of the shindig,
this is true.
We like to entertain, and that was called. People wanted to see the fight, so we purchased it for $99.99. So
you bought the fight, okay? And then Max, were you at any point, Max Starks? Were you at any point saying, should I not? Do I want to watch this fight? What do I think? Am I expecting? Or were you all in from the beginning on Mayweather and McGregor?
Oh, I wanted to watch it. I was not going to pay for it. I tell you that much. As soon as that fight got announced, I was like, "Listen, who's throwing a party? I'll be over there. Y'all need wings. Y'all need adult beverages. We'll clean after the party. I'm not paying for this."
So you were all in on the potluck. Potluck.
Exactly. I was all in on the potluck. Listen, I'll put something on it. I'm not paying full price.
It's the Locker Room here on ESPN Radio. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. I'm going to give it to you straight, fellas. I was going to watch this fight. I was going to buy this fight. I had to because I am a big MMA fan. I'm not necessarily the biggest boxing fan. But it was something about the spectacle because we're all about the same age, fellas. And so the thing about for us growing up, I'll raise my hand and say I didn't get a chance to fully embrace and understand what a Mike Tyson fight was really all about. A lot of our older colleagues were like, Kirk, you missed out on that Mike Tyson. Is just being a professional athlete and going to Mike Tyson fight. It was a spectacle. We knew what was going to happen. We knew if Mike would knock a guy out in 60 seconds, it was still worth being there for the weekend, being there and going to the parties and the events and the build-up in that room. So for me, I'm not calling this a Mike Tyson fight between Mayweather and McGregor, but this to me had the energy of seeing two guys who's going to go out there at the top of their divisions, or the top of their sports, But at the same time, it was the unknown, fellas. That's what to me it was. It was the unknown that really got me. And I think this is what happened to you, Willie. I think this is what – no, I'm serious. This is what happened to you. It's when you're so far out from a fight, it's like whatever. Same thing with the Super Bowl. You guys both played in Super Bowls and won them with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know that the Super Bowl is 2 weeks after the conference championship game. Right. So you know how that first week is always like that lull. It's like, oh, here we go. You know, so much, you know, kind of getting away and getting things together, you know, packing up and getting tickets off. But it's like the build up, the actual Super Bowl week is like any other. You feel the intensity going on. And I think you bought into the intensity, Willie, that you felt that these guys, like, I want to see this now. The build up finally got to you to a point where, you know what, I actually want to check this out.
Well, yeah, I think leading up to the fight, you know, when they were doing the promotion tours, I was honestly surprised how well Conor carried the promotional side of this. I mean, he kind of I don't know if this will ever happen again, but he kind of he showed up Floyd. You know, Floyd is about the antics and the, you know, the big sound bites and all that stuff. But Conor stood up. I mean, when he walked in the Barclays with the Notorious B.I.G. playing, and you see the fur coats, and he put on the Warriors jersey. I mean, he really pushed this fight, and I think I think Floyd realized, like, man, I got to give it to this guy. I thought I was going to have to carry this fight, but this guy stood up in a big way. Listen, Conor's 29. He came in the ring. He didn't fight reckless. Everybody was expecting him to kind of throw an elbow or a drop kick, but he stood in there. I mean, he didn't look as polished as other fighters, but to go in there and not fight recklessly, I mean, he didn't go the distance. But at the end of the day, when you look at the whole as a whole, you know, Conor's right. Not a lot of people take those type of risks, and he did a great job of just getting in there and said, "Hey, let's knuckle it up."
You know, for you, Max, were you when you watched the fight at the end of the day? Because Floyd Mayweather, obviously, I felt he toyed with him, but I just felt like I was more entertained than watching the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight. Like, there was like two guys who I felt like, okay, they were at the top, and you've been wanting to see this fight, and we had gassed that fight up for how many years, Mayweather and Pacquiao. And so for me, with Mayweather-McGregor, it was more of an exhibition, but at the same time, you just didn't know what you were going to get from Conor McGregor. Were you entertained enough by this fight? Did you walk away feeling like, you know what, that was actually all right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And sorry about that. I would definitely say that this was more entertaining than I had predicted, just because of the fact that, yeah, you saw the whole press junket and tour, and, I mean, just the antics. I mean, and to Willie's point, having just that buildup of Conor McGregor just coming out of here and just giving you all kinds of spectacles, like you said, the fur coats, the B.I.G., but also he having the suit, the notorious suit as well, that had the pinstriping with questionable language on it. And, you know, so it was that buildup. Like, you wanted to see, he created that villain type role almost, in a sense, where he just came at Floyd, just attacked everything that he could, questioned everything about. I mean, it was, you know, it was no gloves on at that point.
He pulled out the no read card, said he couldn't read. I was like, wow, this is getting personal.
Yeah. It got personal, fellas. It really did. And
it did.
For all those joining us, Floyd Mayweather took care of Conor McGregor, a 10th round TKO. The fight was actually stopped. And the thing is, I don't know if it should have been stopped. When you listen to some of the audio and listening to Conor McGregor say, look, in my sport, until I'm knocked down, you don't stop that fight. You know what I mean? So I really thought that you could have made that one last a little bit longer, give Conor a chance to say, look, and until he knocks me down in my sport, please just leave me alone. I'm trying to catch my win. But we were joking around when you saw Conor McGregor in those later rounds. Fellas, we all know about conditioning in football. And I said it before. That was that 10th gasser, you know, that 10th gasser in the off season, and you know, coach is like, on the line, fellas, and you start putting that head back, and you got your arms and your hands on your waist,
back locked up.
That back is so tight.
And Conor McGregor's leg looked like straight Jell-O.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
You got to go out there and earn that respect from the guys in the locker room.
More and more in diving into this Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor fight in Las Vegas last night. A 10th round TKO fight was stopped. in favor of Floyd Money Mayweather. And I'll say it again first, fellas. It was a spectacle. It was, and I was lucky enough to be out there this weekend in Vegas doing the Geico High School kickoff for ESPN, Bishop Gorman versus DeMatha High School. And so just being around there, obviously in the city, you just felt the vibe. And whether it was me getting off the flight and all these guys from Ireland looking at me, hey, mate, who you going for, mate? Who you McGregor's going to knock him out, mate. And I'm like, all right, I mean, okay. Obviously, I'm going with Mayweather still, but you can just see that people they were into this. And when you have a sold-out T-Mobile Arena for a weigh-in, some people weren't going to get close to that fight, but they were able to be a part of it and go to the weigh-in. I thought the build-up was what we wanted, to a point where when I saw and we watched the fight, and I'll start with you, Willie, when you watched the fight, though, did you walk away saying, you know what, that was entertaining, I needed more, or I will never, ever fall into this trap again?
No, I'm probably definitely going to fall into the trap again. For me, listen, when Conor said he was going to knock Floyd out in the first round, I was sitting there, I was like, you know what? This guy's got to be delusional. I don't understand where he's coming from. But you talk about the buildup.
Right. After
a while, you sit around, you're like, you know what? Everybody always has a puncher's chance. This may happen.
Exactly.
But I forgot once Floyd got back in the ring, I was like, this is over. As soon as Floyd came out the locker room with the bank robber mask, and he looked down, I was like, oh, this Conor's in trouble. It was good to watch. It was something to do on a Saturday. The thing about it, people, the question now is, will you see more MMA fighters try to cross over into the boxing world?
Mm-mm.
No, you won't, because there's not a guy in that sport that's like Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is a global superstar. There's nobody in the UFC there's nowhere close on his level. So I don't see switching back and forth, but I do think Conor's going to fight more. Boxing, for some reason, I feel like he's entertained by this world. I think he understands the game better. I just see Conor. For some reason, I don't think this is the last we'll see Conor in a boxing ring, and that's what I took from it.
Same thing with you, Max. Was there a situation where you're watching this last night and you're like, you know what, man, this is actually fun. Like, I'm actually watching something. And were you just hoping? Were you just like hoping? I was kind of like me. I was hoping that maybe Conor may land that one shot that makes Floyd stumble back or may put him on his back. I didn't think they were going to win. If they went to a decision, I have Floyd, but I wanted to see something like that one instance where you got Floyd one time. And to me, that would have been well worth it.
Yeah, I was looking for it. I thought, especially after seeing all those hammer fists that Conor was
good old
throwing.
hammer fists.
Good old hammer fists.
I thought I was going to pull out that great white height, the overhand. But I didn't see that. I saw Floyd, and obviously it was a very uncharacteristic Floyd type match, with him actually moving forward and being the aggressor, especially after the fourth round. And it was entertaining because you look at it, what else was there to watch at this particular point of the year? Were we going to watch some of the college football games that were in random locations?
No, we're going to watch that third preseason game. You already know what time it was.
Or the third preseason game. I was like, come on, I even forgot, and I cover the Cardinals, so I was like, it's like, oh yeah, we got a game today. Let me go ahead and watch that for a second. Because I was like, this is a spectacle. This is what you wanted to see. It was a perfect timing right before college football kicks off next weekend, and then NFL the week after. So they planned it perfectly to where it was a lull in sporting events to put on this type of exhibition for everybody to tune into.
Yeah, this is the Locker Room here on ESPN Radio. That was Max Starks. I'm Kirk Morrison, along with Willie Colon. A lot of things that were happening on Friday night late and early Saturday before the fight started was a lot of money being handed to some casinos and to some gambling places as the money started to pour in, as the big timers, the high rollers started to come in. And even Floyd Mayweather tried to do a little something, bet on his own self. Here's a little Floyd from last night.
The under would have cashed if you could have gotten it in.
I bet it.
You did get the under in.
Yes, I bet it.
And it cashed.
They didn't let me bet $400,000.
Okay.
Early today, I went to go bet $400,000, and they didn't let me bet at a casino that I went to because they said I was a promoter, and I'll be setting. I guess they thought the fight was going to be set up. I'm not going to set up a fight for $400,000 when I'm making over $300 million. So I gave my friend $400,000 to go bet. They would only let him bet $87,000.
That was Floyd Mayweather last night, making money for his friends, I guess. Is that what he was doing? He's like, oh, yeah, go put this down. Here go a little money. So I think he was paying off maybe some tax debts at the same time, if you think so. But that was Floyd talking about the fight. But I think the person who I wanted to hear from the most, because Floyd was very humble going up into this fight, fellas. But I really want to hear from Conor McGregor because, you don't know what you're going to get from Conor. You've watched him in the UFC, win or lose. But at the same time, he was going to give you a sound bite. But yesterday, Conor McGregor, to me, just sounded like, look, this was an opportunity. He took it, and he felt like he still had more left. Here's a little Conor McGregor from last night post-fight.
I think I deserve to see let me into the corner, and then he could decide. I didn't go down, and there was one shot where I slapped the head back, and then the last shots were grazing. Now, they hit me, but they were grazing. They weren't like clean shots. The head didn't snap back. They were like as I was turning. Let me try and get to the bell. And then if you're not happy at the bell, then you can maybe pull me. Do you know what I mean? But give me that. It's fatigue. It's like, it's not. I don't know what it is. It's like a mental thing or something. It happened in the Diaz-2 fight as well. I had a little stage in the third round, end of the second and end of the third. But then look what happened in the fourth and then the fifth. I came back. I overcome it. So I would have liked him to get to that corner.
He would have liked to get in that corner, but then also too, little Conor McGregor here, and a little last one from here on Conor. Well, and this is kind of what I felt. He got Floyd out of his comfort zone.
He fought different because he knew he couldn't fight me the way he normally fights me. He had to change his style, so I made him fight. He usually doesn't fight, so I made him come and fight. But look, nothing but respect to him. He came and he fought, and you've got to give respect to that. But I don't feel like I lost a fight. I feel like I lost a match. Do you know what I mean? Give me a kick in the mouth or something. Do you know what I mean? Put me out. Put me down. Not a little, I'm fatigued and I'm tired, and then the ref steps in. It felt like a bleeding amateurs. You know what I mean? That's like something they do in the amateurs. If that was MMA, the ref wants to see a nose hanging off your face before he's even thinking of doing something like that. He'd done it a little bit early, we thought, but whatever.
That was Conor McGregor post-fight. I mean, he basically laid it out there.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. This is The Locker Room Podcast.
We were just talking about preseason, especially week number 3, and where you see, the dress rehearsal for the NFL season. You kind of get your body acclimated to, in a couple weeks, this is all going to be for real. So this is probably the closest thing that you'll get, which is preseason week 3. That's why you see a lot of the broadcasting, networks usually have a crew come out and they actually treat it like a real game. So everybody's in, pretty much getting ready for the season. But as you get ready for the season, things do happen. And when I say things, those are considered injuries. And I'll go back to my career on this one. I'll start here, fellas. Like, when you feel like, okay, my team is ready, we're all good, things are going great, and all of a sudden you have an injury, and an injury to a key guy. And you're like, man, what are we going to do? What's going on? And to me, it's next man up. It's actually almost how I got my opportunity. I mean, I came in, got drafted in 2005, third round, and I'm like, okay, I was a second linebacker, and I'm getting ready, doing my thing, and playing. I was on the first nickel defense, and all of a sudden, the starter in the base package, he gets hurt going into week 3 of the preseason. And, like, the team is looking around like, okay, what are we going to do? And they were like, nah, we got the young rookie, put me in there. And so from that point, I became a starter. And I treated week 3 of the preseason. That was like my first real game, though. The first 2 preseason games, I was learning it. But, like, preseason game, week number 3, I had to go out there and actually, like, play it. So I feel it. And I bring this up, fellas, because I know you guys played for the Steelers for a long time. That's why I love getting your take on this, because it seems to me there was, like, little things that have happened with the Steelers right before a season or right during the season. How do you overcome those injuries? Like, what's the thought process of the team or yourselves individually? I'll start with you on this one, Max. Was there an injury not only to yourself or to somewhere in the preseason where you felt like, how are we going to get past this one?
I look at it and I was trying to think of like a significant preseason injury. I remember when my buddy Barrett Brooks got injured. It might have been the third preseason game, and he actually his quad, he tore his quad. And that was like, oh man, you're like, oh man, B. Brooks is down, and he was probably going to be one of the guys going to be one of the backup tackles. And you're like, what happened? And you kind of reel because you're like, the depth and the harmony of, especially the offensive line room. Willie, you can attest to this. The offensive line room is a different room. Yes. And you have to be close. It has to be a fist. You can't have 5 fingers just hanging out there. It has to be a fist if you want your offensive line to be great. And that was he was kind of like the uncle. He was the big brother in our locker room. So it was like, man, how's that going to affect? Because B. Brooks was that guy you could go to for wisdom, and he could lean on his experience and talk to him through things. So it's like, man, we're losing a really important character. But I mean, we grew up from that, and we became a closer unit because of it. But that was one of the things I remember distinctly, was that type of injury was just an injury to our unit, and how are we going to deal with it, moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, if you think about what I mentioned earlier, here in New York, I cover the Jets. I mean, Quincy Enunwa, a big-time receiver for the Jets, he went down with a neck. Bryce Petty had a great second half against the Giants yesterday. He left with a knee. So when you see guys, especially if you're a team like the Jets, you're seeing some of your key guys or guys you need to kind of, get going through the season. They start getting hurt early. That hurts the team morale. That they struggle with realizing, their confidence now is different. You got to imagine, if Brady was to get hurt, the confidence level on the New England Patriots and around the world would just be shattered. You know what I mean? So let's think about it. So different guys mean different things to ball clubs, and especially the fan base. I mean, if Brady's not on the field, a lot of Patriot fans aren't going to the games. I don't care if Brandon Cook, Gronk, and everybody is still out there. It's all about Brady. So this is what coaches have to do this time of year. They all, they all get a sign of the cross before they get on the field, because they're like, listen, if this guy's not out there, we're in trouble. So it's a sensitive time, and at the end of the day, what you really, really want to see is knock this thing down to 3 games. But they need preseason games. I would knock this thing down to 3 games and really try to help these ball players and the rest of the NFL get going.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to figure that out, but that probably won't come into the next, collective bargaining negotiations in 2021. But just looking at some of the guys, and we talked about some of the key injuries that kind of happened this week. As far as Odell Beckham Jr. and Julian Edelman, 2 top receivers. And I'll present this question to you first, Willie. It's different with Edelman going down than with Odell Beckham, who, just a sprained ankle, so he probably will be available week 1. And he's telling people he'll see he's iffy, but I know he'll probably play week 1. But it's 2 different situations, because if I'm a Giants fan, Odell Beckham goes down, I hold my breath. Julian Edelman goes down for the Patriots, and you not necessarily hold, you sigh. You don't hold your breath, I think.
Well, yeah, because Brandon Cooks is right behind him, and he's probably going to be a Pro Bowl this year because of it. But I agree with you as far as Odell Beckham. If Odell goes down, he's their number 1 option here in New York for the Giants. He goes down, there goes the season. I don't care what anybody says. I validate the Giants have a very good defense, and I put them up there with the best of them. But if Odell goes out, good riddance, then there's no more Super Bowl contenders or even win a division.
This is the locker room here. Kirk Morrison, Willie Colon, Max Starks. Hey, get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold. Same thing for you, Max. Like, is it different? Like, different players get treated differently, right? And so, the linebacker go down, you're like, all right, we'll get another linebacker. But when somebody like that goes down, like a receiver goes down, in which you have to rely on, the team morale is not really down to a point where if you got other guys that got to step up. But when I look at the New York Giants, Odell Beckham Jr. goes down. I don't know, what do you do from there, though?
I completely agree. OBJ coming out and having the injury that he had, you're like, dodged a bullet. Julian Edelman, you're like, it's still Brady's team, and Brady makes every receiver look great because he's Tom Brady and it's Bill Belichick, and they can take a guy off the streets and make him a top caliber receiver. So you don't really, even though it's Brady's security blanket, you don't worry as much. But OBJ, I think also even Spencer Ware, him going down. That's a huge blow when you think about what he was going to mean to that Chiefs team. So, and then Hitchens. I mean, I think there are two of them that are really significant that are going to hurt, and as you see throughout the season, OBJ obviously has an ankle, and nobody even went back to the locker room with him as he was on one at that moment. But if it was a significant injury, Giants fans would have been like, okay, that's it for us in the division. We have no shot. We're going to go ahead and
keep on moving forward. Yeah, I get it.
Keep on moving forward. Yeah, I mean, because they have a lot of other issues too, and if you lose the bright spot, that's it. It's dim.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
You got to go out there and earn their respect from the guys in the locker room.
We had a chance to just start a little bit, and we've all had to go through this. Some people who don't play football may not really understand, but there's this thing that we call rookie dinners, and it's not necessarily an initiation, but
it's a rite of passage.
It's a rite of passage to where
it must be done.
Yeah, it must be done. Where you're a rookie, and this is the time where you get your veterans sit down, have a good meal, get to order some expensive wine, and it happens, once a year, and you don't want to look at the bill. But the one thing that you always say is that, you know what, it happens to everyone. And it happened this week with the Green Bay Packers. David Bakhtiari, the tackle for the Green Bay Packers, tweeted out a photo this week. What a dinner. I'm stuffed. Thanks, Rooks. It was a $33,696.99 kind of a bill. It went to Capitol Grill over in Denver, Colorado, and just some of the things that I'm looking on this itemized bill here: 6 bone-in ribeye steaks, and it's one of those bills too. And excuse me, fellas, this is too expensive for my taste. But when I can't pronounce some of the words on there, that's when I know it's too expensive for me. When you order, it says 6 Lafite Rothschild 10. That sounds like some expensive alcohol. The Remy Martin the 8th, Chivas Regal 25-year-old, a copper kale and almonds. What else? Yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff, fella. So it got me to thinking. I think we've all had a rookie dinner. Max, just listening to you, I feel like you have more story or something behind this because you were already there in Pittsburgh when one Willie Colon was drafted. So I can only imagine what you did to Willie Colon when he got drafted for his rookie dinner.
So we talked about this off air, and I never forget it. This was a special year. It was my second time attending the rookie dinner where I wasn't the host. I was very proud of that because I pulled solo duty on my rookie dinner.
Oh, you're by yourself.
I was by myself because I couldn't depend on the other guy that was also drafted the same year, but he got cut and then came back later in the year, so he wasn't going to pay. He paid for the round of Bud Lights, but and obviously inflation goes up since then. But yeah, Willie coming in, and we usually do the rookie dinner at the end of the year, so we did it in December. We call it allowing the young bucks to stack checks. So make sure they have money in the bank account. Willie was a 4th rounder, so you're not going to tax him, early in the year, especially when it's a time where it's cusp time. When you don't know if you're going to make or break a team. So we wait till the end of the year, and we went to Morton's. And I think this is the last time we were allowed in Morton's because of this. I think they had our pictures behind the wait staff, the little hostess stand. Like, if you see these guys, don't let them in. But yeah, so we had a rookie dinner. I mean, it got a little crazy. And for Willie, with anybody. I mean, me and you, Kirk. We haven't seen money, and to see that on a bill, to see a comma and not a period. Right. When that check comes out, and so we had ordered. It got a little out of hand, and one of our teammates, Yeah, I'm trying to play it down.
I got you.
But it got out of hand. It got out of hand. There was a lot of Silver Oak and Opus Ones that got opened.
Yes.
And then there was a couple of bottles of Louis that were prepackaged. We didn't even decide on taking a shot at the restaurant.
Is that short for Louis the 13th?
Yes, that is.
Okay.
That is
Just making sure.
Louis the 13th. Yeah. And it comes in a nice, red box. It has a little velvet, the Baccarat crystal. It looks really nice. And so the bill comes out. And so it's Willie and Marvin Phillips sitting there. And, Marv was what, 7th rounder, Willie?
7th rounder. He
Marv
went to
7th?
Cal. He was Aaron Rodgers' center in college.
Yeah. So they're sitting there. Willie obviously is the higher of the two, and Marv's just looking at him, like patting his pockets, like, hey. And Willie's looking like, what? Did you see this? and so they're looking over the bill, and then one of our teammates decides to come over and look at the bill. Now, normally we don't do this, but this teammate is flamboyant, so he wanted to see it, and then he just starts clowning. And Willie, I don't know how many people out there have met Willie, but Willie's a very strong-willed individual.
Yes.
And yes. And so some words were exchanged, and then Willie just
I two-pieced him. That's what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
I'm gonna put it out there.
I mean,
he tried to be all about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen,
exactly. No.
This is what happened, y'all. So we're at this rookie dinner,
right?
So we're at this rookie. They're buying all these bottles and stuff. I'm sitting at the end of the table. Far down, it's a stretched-out table. Alan Faneca and Marvell Smith and all the elders are at the other end, and they're buying loads of steak and they're buying all this stuff. They're buying gift bottles for themselves. Yes. I'm sitting right next to Marvell, like we just mentioned. He's a 6th-round guy.
Like the cash register's just going off in your head.
No
right?
question. He doesn't even have any money. So when the check comes at this time, I'm looking at it. I'm like, I've never seen that much money in my life. So I'm looking at Marvell. I'm like, man, do you have anything on you? He goes, bro, you know me. I don't have. So he starts mumbling. I'm like, God, man. The bill was $26,000.
Okay.
Right. So I've never even seen $26,000. I didn't even know if I had 26. All I know is it was way much more money than I've ever seen.
Right.
So at the end of the night, everybody's like, hey, man, don't be upset, because everybody, by this time I'm upset. I feel like I got taken, whatever. But I understand Faneca being a great vet. He's like, hey, man, this is just how it goes down. It hurts, just kind of enjoy it. Drink some of the fancy stuff you brought, you'll be fine. Boom. So the guy he's talking about came down to the end of the table. He said, man, let me see the bill. And I'm like, nah, it's all right. Let me just pay for it. Let's just get out of here. So he goes, all right. So he goes, well, I don't understand why you're acting so salty. Everybody goes through this. You're not exempt from this, da-da-da-da-da. Boom. So I'm like, all right, man, cool off. So he decides to call me a female dog in front of all these dudes. And And so once he said that, I was like, oh, word. And so I two-pieced him, and we had a little rumble in this little private dining area at Morton's. And the cops ended up coming, and we got out of there. So at the end, to say all that, some guys don't take rookie dinners well. I was happen to be one of them. It's a lot of money, so there should be a cap on the number. And now I know for a fact on rookie dinners, there's most ball clubs or coaches will allow a cap for dinner because some guys don't have it, and you got to be worried about guys getting taken advantage of.
Wow, whew, that is so. Willie Colon, and that's where you earned the stripes on the jersey for the Steelers, right?
Pretty much.
You earned the stripes at that dinner. I got it.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. This is The Locker Room Podcast.
There's still some quarterback play that's been sort of spotty or shoddy, if you want to call it that. Not necessarily from the starting position, but for backup positions as well. And there's still a quarterback that a lot of people want to know, where does he land? Will he play in the NFL this year? Will some team call him? And that guy happens to be Colin Kaepernick. And Colin Kaepernick this week, he was back in the news, not for what he did, but for what many others did this week. As the anthem protests increased around the NFL, there was a rally for Colin Kaepernick in New York City this week, and Willie Colon, was in attendance. And Willie, what did you see? What did you hear? And were you surprised at how many people turned out for this event?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was impactful. Yeah, right before I got, because I was with SNY, the local station here in New York. I was reporting for them. Right before the rally started, we were right in front of NFL headquarters. They took down the American flag. They took down the American flag. They took down the New York State flag. But what's interesting, right across the street, there's a church, the St. Bart's Church on 51st and Park. Their flags were up, and right across from St. Bart. So it was at least 3 or 4 blocks where everybody had their American flags up, but right in front of NFL headquarters, there was no American flag for this Kaepernick rally, and I thought that spoke a loud message. It was kind of hurtful because I felt, my biggest frustration with the NFL right now is here you are in the mix of a crisis. This is not going to go away. This Kaepernick will forever haunt the NFL until they handle it. There hasn't been any PSA, any kind of outward message from Roger Goodell as far as saying, hey, we welcome all. We are a league that represents many different faces and people. We support our black and brown brothers across the country. And the NFL is 75% black. There's people who look like us that are in the helmets. So the issues that are Cap is talking about and protesting, they talked about that in the rally. And it was a situation where everybody that spoke, it was more about, this is a chance for the African American community to be heard. This is about all of us. It's about how can we stand together. It was about unity. A lot of people that spoke at the rally were talking from a place of they want change. They want to be respected. They want Cap to be in the NFL. And it was a peaceful protest. They called out Verizon because Verizon is the biggest, I think, advertisement. I think they gave the NFL $131 million or something like that. Wow. So they was like, listen, we want Verizon to kind of help us out and stand with Cap. They're calling for a meeting with the NFL that was denied. I think twice already. So it's a lot. It was a lot. It was a peaceful protest. It was very encouraging. But however, Cap still doesn't have a job. The NFL has refused to sit and talk with Kaepernick's camp and the people, the NAACP. So I don't know where it's going, but I know they're knocking out the door and they're not leaving. So the NFL is going to have to open their door and really address this issue as to why Kaepernick's not in the league. You can say he's not a good quarterback. I think it's ridiculous. There's a lot of bad quarterbacks playing right now.
We're seeing a lot of
We're seeing
garbage.
A lot of, and we know that Cap at this moment is better than a lot of quarterbacks that's playing. So it's a lot. We're going to continue to talk about this. I'm glad more guys on the sidelines are standing up and really making effort to kind of bring this to light. But this is a long road, and we're just kind of walking through it right now.
Yeah, Max Starks, do you believe that Colin Kaepernick will play this year in the NFL?
I'd like to believe so. But I know that the NFL is very stubborn. When they make a decision, they dig in and try and double down on it. I think Cap really deserves an opportunity because when I look around the league and I see what teams are putting out there for the quarterback and backup quarterback position, there is no way that he's not in the conversation for at least a backup position. When you look at some of the guys out there, I mean, Kirk, I'm be honest, the team that you cover a lot of, he could come in and make a difference. So, I'm thinking, so when I look at that, I'm like, there's so many opportunities where there could be, and it's such a quarterback star deprived league right now that, you have these young and up-and-comers that you put a lot of faith in, but a lot of them aren't ready to play. And this guy has proven that he can play and has taken his team to a Super Bowl. So how is he just fallen from grace? And it's only because of his activism that he has that kind of scarlet letter on him as far as how teams look at him. Because he should have had a couple of opportunities to be in camp. He should at least have been in camp this year.
You can't tell me if he never made this stance by April, Cap wouldn't have had a job. I mean, it's not even. I don't even. It's kind of laughable at this point that people continue. Well, he's not that good. Well, yes, he can play. well, he shouldn't have used the flag as well. He didn't use the flag. He had a message, and that was the platform. We watch award shows all the time, and we see actors and actresses stand on it, receive their award, and give some type of political rant about what they want awareness for. So we can't have it both ways, man. I think Cap at this point is ridiculous, and I know ever since he's been out the league, he's donated so much money. He's continued to work. He's put his money where his mouth is. So I don't know if this is ever going away. We're going to continue to talk about it, and we can be fatigued about it all we want, but the NFL has to address this.
Yeah, they have to address it, and I think this is something that's just going to keep lingering. And so you got to figure out, okay, what are they going to do about Cap? You're still going to see how does the situation handle with Ezekiel Elliott and his suspension. Will it be upheld because the appeal process is going? So there are some things now that the NFL, people are going to be focused on how they handle a couple of situations, and we'll see what happens. But I still feel that Colin Kaepernick should be in an NFL uniform.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
You got to go out there and earn that respect from the guys in the locker room.
So many stories, and before I get to my rookie dinner story, you two guys had to room together in the early years. When I say room together, everybody knows your first couple years in the league, and I don't know how it was in Pittsburgh. I think for me, my early part was you couldn't get your own room on the road until you were, I believe, your fifth year, your fourth or fifth year. And until then, you on the road, you had to bunk up with somebody. And for me, I was played on a West Coast team, so we would always have to travel 2 days earlier. So here you are, you live by yourself all season long, but when I had to travel, I'm staying in a room with one of my guys, and it's just a room. Not like we had a 2-bedroom. No, you're in a literal hotel room sharing with a guy. So I can only imagine you two guys. I know there's a couple stories with you two guys bunking up right before a game.
Yeah, so Max won't tell it, so I'm going to tell the story.
Please.
So we're playing so this happened one particular season. We were playing Baltimore. Both teams, it's a hot rivalry, so we were both jacked up. Max always, I had to sleep near the window. Max always slept whatever bed. So Max falls asleep. I fall asleep. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning. I feel like this wind, like kind of pressing against my face, like blowing down on my face. So I'm like, man, I know the window's closed. So I kind of peek my eye open. Max is standing in his boxers. They were big dog boxers.
Big dogs.
Remember the old school big dog?
Big dog boxers.
He's standing in his boxers, shirt off, snoring down. I can just feel snoring, his hot breath on my face. So it startles me, and I'm scared. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, Max, are you okay? Max, what's wrong? So I'm looking at him, and he's asleep, and I'm like, oh man, I can't wake him because they tell you never to wake a sleepwalker, or he may crush you. So I'm like, all right. I'm not gonna wake him up. So what do? So as I'm trying to get out of my bed, I'm looking at his big dog boxers. He's breathing on me. I'm crawling out the bed around him. I simply turn his shoulders, and no BS, you guys. He literally, it was like he just went back to where he was sleeping. It was crazy. So he walked back to the bed, put the covers on himself. And so I'm like, man, this man was really sleepwalking. So now I can't go back to sleep. So it's like 4 a.m. now. I'm staring outside the window. He's snoring like a baby. 6 o'clock comes around. You usually got to get for breakfast about 7:15, 8 o'clock. Right. As I'm getting out of bed, brushing my teeth, he looks at me. He goes, man, that's probably some of the best sleep I got in a long time. He's like, how did you sleep? My eyes are beet red. Beet red. I'm so exhausted. We have to go play Baltimore. And I'm like, we can't be roommates no more. This is it. This is where I leave you. This is the end of our relationship.
The camel's back.
That is the straw that broke the camel's back between me and Max Starks. And that's why we had to split the relationship up. Because he killed. I couldn't even function during the game. I was so exhausted. And he's over there skipping around the field.
I couldn't even imagine that, dude. I couldn't even imagine that. Like,
it was insane. And when I told him about it, he was like, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No idea.
I don't remember any of that. Zero to this day.
It was insanity.
I don't remember it.
He's a I guess YouTube or internet sensation now, but You guys knew James Harrison when he first started. Has he always been this way as far as the weightlifting and the crazy amounts of weight he's putting up? Because he walks around with this sweatshirt and his hoodie, and I'm like, if I'm a rookie or anybody, I don't know if I could even talk to them, to talk to him. Did you guys have a relationship with him? I mean, obviously you played with him for a while, but the dude just looks like that's just too intense.
Well, for me, Debo, we call him.
Right.
He had many names. I should say that when he came in, because the year that I came in as a rookie was the year that Debo finally made the roster for the Steelers. So we kind of call it, his rookie year as well.
Right.
And he was Silverback, then he went to Debo, and then it just kind of stuck with Debo. But he's always been just freakishly strong. It's ridiculous. But I think he's taken it now to a new level as far as, with the advent of social media, because back when we first came in the league, there was no social media.
Right.
You couldn't even text without having to hit the numbers a couple times so you got to write letter. So
I remember that.
Old razor phone.
Old flip phone.
That's right, that Motorola razor,
baby.
Exactly. Yeah, you can still pull the antenna up on your cell phone,
Yeah.
So now you get to the advent of social media, and now you can see the spectacle that is James Harrison, just constantly going out there and still doing it at such a high level in this league. It's phenomenal. But yeah, people are now having the opportunity to peek into his world. But he's always been this crazy, and and Willie and I both trained with him in the off season, so we saw it firsthand behind closed doors what he could do. And then when he comes out here to Arizona, you see him and he's still doing it, and he's bringing the young guys out here to train with him so they could hopefully, I guess, catch some of the vapors, because I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to do what James Harrison does. He's a freak of nature.
Kirk, don't you think he looks like the father from Good Times?
Yeah, he does. What's his name? Is that James Amos?
James Amos.
Yeah.
John Amos.
John Amos. I say John. Yeah.
John Amos.
I actually met John Amos. He's actually a pretty good dude. He's funny, but just a couple stories I was thinking about, because you guys talked about earlier about your rookie night or rookie dinner stories, and Willie Colon having to put somebody in their place for joking around. My rookie dinner was a little bit different. We actually split it up. We combined.
So you didn't get kicked out of Morton's? Okay.
No, we didn't get kicked. We actually, yeah.
So what are you saying? The cops didn't come?
I think there's only three bougie restaurants that guys go to, and people always say, "Why do you guys go to the certain restaurant?" Because these are all the restaurants that we will never eat at ever again, probably.
Unless you're on a date.
Yeah, unless you're on a date, or not even
exactly.
a date. Well, I don't even know what kind of date you want to be on, because that's too much expensive taste.
Well, you say you cheap?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't say cheap. I would say my brother.
They supersize it?
My brother, who was in the banking world, investment banking and all that. He says he uses the term cost efficiency. He said that's not a cost efficient type of move.
Yeah, you sound like a Golden
Corral.
Big
letter word to say cheap.
You're taking all your things to the buffet, huh?
Listen, baby, there's a chocolate fondue fountain waiting for you at the end of this day.
You can go to dinner. You can go to dinner at these places. I don't think it's just cost efficient. You know what I mean? For me, but anyway, for us, there's only really a couple of restaurants you go to. You guys mentioned the Capitol Grill, Morton's. We all went to Ruth Chris Steakhouse, and I remember getting there, and it was myself and our two other rookies that we had. It was four rookies, and we had our first rounder, our second rounder. I was a third rounder, and we also had an undrafted guy who was there with us. And it was one of those things where we invited the defensive backs, because it was 3 defensive backs, and I was the only linebacker. So they was I didn't want to just put it all on me, and we really only had 3 or 4 linebackers who were there. So we were let's just combine it. We're gonna have a good time. That was fine. So this is where you're supposed to treat your own position, right, fellas? It's the position groups.
Right.
Well, we had guest speakers come out. You know what I mean? And guest speakers are or guests, guys who come out that,
for motivation during a rookie dinner?
No, not motivation,
exactly.
but guys who found out about the rookie dinner. And it's how do I tell Randy Moss, who is not a linebacker or a safety, that he can't come to the rookie dinner? You know what I mean?
How do I walk up to him and say you can't come to the rookie dinner?
And then Warren Sapp, you know what I'm saying? Warren Sapp comes to the rookie dinner. You know what I mean? I'm
oh, that's right. I forgot Sapp was out there.
Yes, I had Sapp. I had Moss. I had another guy, Derek Burgess, who played defensive end, for the Philadelphia Philadelphia Eagles at the time. Now when they came over to the Raiders. So we like had all of these guys that just kept popping up, and I'm like, so I kept looking at the bill, like that's how I know what you were saying, Willie. Cause I've never been to the point where you sit down and actually you can hear the cash register going off in your head, like with each person sitting down, like cha-ching, 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 and they kept ordering them bottles of wine and. But it is a rite of passage, though. You know what I mean? When I saw that bill, I promise you, like, my heart almost exploded. You know what I mean? And it wasn't that much because we split it, but it was still just the thought of the bill. And I think ours came out to, I believe, about 45,000. But we had to split it between. Well, we split it between 4 or 5 guys, and actually our first round took half of it.
That's not bad
and we had to say, so it worked out. But man, like you said, before you actually got a little something to see that money go away, it was.
And it's funny because our listeners are like, "Oh, rich people problems."
No,
you just tossed $10,000 from a dinner right out the window, and now you blink.
Thanks for listening to the Locker Room Podcast. Make sure to subscribe by clicking the Listen tab on the ESPN app.